Hey guys, I'm up late, early in the morning. I usually uh, go to bed late. I want to get back with you all and do this other part 3 of Dick Gregory's interview on Hurricane Katrina. The book again, Katrina, Eyes Have Not Seen, Years Have Not Heard, from 2008. I first published it. Amazon.com, Barnes and Nobles.com, and authorhouse.com have the book available. It's cheaper to get it online, just to let you know. It's like $14.50. If you want to go in the stores, Barnes and Nobles and Harvey has the books on the shelf in the local section, as well as the one in Lafayette. I will have more book signings coming up in New Orleans, possibly sometime in August and even in July. But to get back to where we were now, this won't be a long interview because, as you can see, I'm tired. This won't be long, but I want to read another snippet. This is part 3, as we did with Dick Gregory and his take on Hurricane Katrina. And what we're going to get on, this is the part where the last time we left off, we talked about oil in the city of New Orleans. I brought that up in part 2. Next, what we're dealing with is stuff going on with the news. And afterwards, and I'll let you all be the judge on it. What was going through your head when you saw what was happening throughout the week, where people were standing outside with no food and no water? Additionally, when they said New Orleans was flooding, it was going to fill up like a bowl. To which Mr. Gregory replied, well, you see, 3 days before they were telling us what was going to happen to New Orleans if Katrina did hit, right? They were talking about what would happen if Katrina were to hit Lake Pontchartrain. That's what they were talking about. Katrina did not hit New Orleans. All of the newspapers around the world the next day said that New Orleans dodged a bullet. Nobody to this day has explained what happened. They were dancing and they would show pictures that night down in the, what they call it, the French Quarter, I replied. They were on the streets dancing, drinking, and celebrating that Katrina missed. Nobody's explaining. Then, what happened? And so then you start asking several questions. I don't know how much you were able to see being there, looking at the news around the clock, and you saw the people lined up going into the football stadium and going into the convention center. You kept asking, why was the line so long, right? Right. They said that the police and the National Guard were searching everybody to make sure that there were no weapons brought in, right? If they are searching everybody and no weapons could get in, why are you telling me 3 days later about all the shooting and all the guns that were in there? If you know anything about the convention center, the Mississippi River is right behind the convention center. Yes, the Mississippi is right behind the convention center, Mr. Gregory. This is my comments. And then he went on and said, so if you're serious about helping people, all you have to do is take barges, put food, water, diapers, and toilet paper on them and bring it up to the window from the barge. They never did that. And I replied, yeah, this was on Nightline where they had an actual ship out there in the river waiting to take people in, and they didn't do anything. Yep, and you start looking at how things were handled. Another part is the amount of people who own their own homes in the night one, yet and still they're talking about poverty. Then they say, well, here's the folks that we brought in here that didn't have automobiles, so they couldn't hit the highway and get out. So here's what we did. We brought them to the Superdome and a convention center. I said, wait a minute. Do you know how many white folks in New Orleans that's homeless? How many white folks that owns welfare, that's on welfare? How many white folks who don't have cars? How come they weren't reflected in the Superdome in the convention center? If you're telling me these people if these are the people that didn't have cars, these are the old folks that couldn't get away, where was all the white folks? Where were the poor welfare white folks? How did they get out of town? Yeah, When you start looking at it, it started to crumble and fall apart. Soon afterwards, the lie started. Why they are shooting, people are getting raped, and they're raping children. And I said, wait, I do a radio show here. On the radio show, I got on and said, wait a minute. Look, I'm a man. If I'm trapped in a place for 3 or 4 days with no food, no water, looking over my shoulder and saw 18 feet of water coming towards me, I wouldn't have an urge for sex. There's something wrong with that story. Then 2 weeks later, the press apologized and said, no, it didn't happen. There was a group of people in the convention saying that saw the women crying and the babies crying. They couldn't drink the water because the water was dirty. They went out to find some water and they saw the liquor store door open. And so they were taking beer back for them to drink because they were thirsty, yeah. The whole press went out over the world and said they broke in the liquor store to steal. But those of us that understand what this country is about, you could just feel it and see it. Blackwater, ladies and gentlemen, is the mercenary group, who are nothing but a bunch of thugs who are just as ruthless than Hitler, more ruthless than Hitler and the Nazis put together. They had more than 1,500 of their people in New Orleans 3 weeks before Katrina hit. They were the ones doing all the shooting. They were the ones that were creating all the craziness. The Sunday before Labor Day, when we woke up that morning, all over the world they were saying 5 black hoodlums were killed on the bridge in New Orleans. That was not true. Only one person, paper, ran that story, and that was down in the Gulf. But it was an AP story that went out and said that 5 people that were killed on the bridge were contractors working for the United States Defense Department. The New York Times didn't carry that. New Orleans paper didn't carry it. The Baton Rouge paper didn't carry it. It's an AP story. So then you start seeing how big it is. That's all I have for right now tonight. It's getting interesting. I will have more. We're going to put up more on part 4 possibly sometime over the weekend. Definitely before Labor Day. I'll do another reading of his. But that's just everything that man said basically was how I felt and what I was watching. I do believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it was racially motivated what happened in New Orleans. I do believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that something went wrong that just wasn't about a hurricane. And to the people that don't believe me or dismiss it as a lie or say, oh, I think you're crazy, hey, pick up, read the book. Or even don't even read my book. But go down, if you're there, go down to New Orleans right now. And I'm not talking about New Orleans in the French Quarter. I'm talking about New Orleans East, Lower Ninth Ward, Chalmette, and St. Bernard Parish. Look at all these places. In 5 years after the storm, be honest and say, do you think there's a huge difference from what happened? Do you think they honestly have done enough in the last 5 years to help get people back? And I'll leave it at that. That's my time. Have a good night, everybody.